So I want to talk about hospital management systems, and I want to talk to you about what to do if you can't afford them and think about them. So really what I'm talking about here is a hospital management system, is some sort of software that sort of manages your clinic, your hospital, your office, all that kind of stuff. And there's popular software and stuff like that. I don't know all the different distinctions and names and all those kind of things. However, what I could do is suggest that you might not necessarily need some sort of hospital management system. Instead, what I would suggest for you to do is to think about how you can improve the efficiency of what you're actually doing right now, rather than sort of turning to that hospital management system. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Maslach. I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. And I talk about all sorts of stuff on this channel. So I just want to point that out, that this is, I think, is an interesting thing, right? So instead of thinking about your hospital as and I'm talking about sort of big and small, right? So it might be a large hospital, or you might be a CEO of a large hospital, or you might be running your own little veterinary clinic, a little tiny thing. And instead of thinking about what kind of system and software that you can get to improve what you're actually doing, instead, I would think of sort of two things. I was thinking about, like, how would I actually address this? What would be the easiest way to actually do this? First thing is I would think about all the different stakeholders that you actually have, and I would sort of rank order those stakeholders. So those are all the people that interact, not just people, but clients and organizations, all those kind of things that interact with your clinic, right? So I'd sort of think about what are the top priorities that I want to address of the people that I want to address. Then from there, right, so you might end up getting your clients, for example. They might be the top people that you want to address. Well, then you want to look at all of the complaints or frictions or whatever that you have tracked. Hopefully you've tracked those in various different ways. You can even just go on, like, your Google reviews, right? And look to see where they're finding some sort of friction, and look to see if there's some sort of pattern that's actually there, right? And you might want to classify those. This is sort of my engineering background is coming in, is I would classify them as, like, maybe user-generated issues or product-caused issues or pricing issues, those kind of things, and look to see and rank order the top issues, right? Sort of start classifying them within an Excel spreadsheet and classify how you might look at what are the top issues that are there. And if you put those in an Excel spreadsheet, maybe you have 10 different issues you want to address and that have been pointed out to you from other people, the clients, for example, the people that you want to work with. And there's 10 different issues that pop up, right? And that's where you have to do some work, and you actually have to go in and rank order those particular things and then see where there is a critical issue that's there. Now, you will identify there's going to be one or two top issues that are going to pop out. That's probably the biggest thing that you are going to have to address. I do this with my own teaching. From time to time, I sort of think about these things. And then you think about, how can I address this and do a small, trial or test to address this particular thing, right? So try something that's different. Spend some resources. That's the hardest part that you are going to feel, that you need to actually spend some resources to do these kind of things, right? Everybody feels this. And so I would allocate. This is what I would do, is allocate some money that you actually have that you're bringing in. So you're bringing in, I don't know, maybe you're bringing in $1 million. Maybe you're bringing in, $1 million, let's say that. So I would just allocate $100,000 of that, whatever is, like, you can actually sort of manage and that you think is capable for you. And then you just waste it on different improvement projects. Now, the reason why I say waste it is because it's going to feel like it. When you are actually doing this, it's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting all this money. And, 9 times out of 10, they actually don't really do anything, right? They're either going to do anything, or they might have a negative problem, or you might cause more problems by doing this and frictions by doing this. And it's going to be hard to do. But that 1 out of 10, that's what you're looking for. That's kind of the odds, right, of doing this kind of improvement stuff. The 1 out of 10 is actually going to do something. So you have to get away. This is the hard thing that physicians don't really understand, or, veterinarians, stuff like, don't really understand. It's not a one-to-one relationship, right? So you're so used to going out and getting clients and making money and all that kind of stuff, that you think it's a one-to-one relationship. It never is, right? So these things are not that clear cut. And unless you're in research and development in a large company, you don't really understand that, right? And what I'm trying to get you to think about is that you're going to try something, and it's going to be the 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 of these things that you try is actually going to work out. And then the key is to sort of practice this day in and day out, right? So you're practicing looking at the problems. So what's going to happen, right? So this is kind of the engineering speak. What's going to happen is that your stakeholders are going to change, right? So you're going to address those client problems and you're going to fix that thing. Then you have to go to the next thing on that list, and it might be, I don't know, it might be your front end staff, for example, and you want to talk to your front end staff and have a conversation with them and figure out what their key problems are. And you sort of work through these things systematically, and you have to do it all the time. Right. So if you are part of this, you have to get used to doing this on a regular basis. You're always looking at it and you're like, what's going on? I'm trying to fix this stuff. That is kind of the norm. And then the other thing is you're always going and wasting resources on this. Now, once you sort of figure it out after a while that many of these issues sort of collide into one particular issue, and it is because you can't coordinate these things, or you're not taking records and those kind of things, then you might sort of consider making a long-term investment, some sort of hospital management system that's going to be really expensive. And the reason why I am not pushing you into that is because it's not going to solve your problems. It never does, right? All the marketing people and all that kind of stuff are kind of going to tell you it's going to solve all your problems and everything's going to be amazing. It never does. Right? Your problems are very real. You have to address those things, and you slowly address those over time as you're doing this. There's no software. There is no consultant, any of that kind of stuff that's going to help you address those issues. They do work, right? I'm not saying that they don't work in terms of addressing them, but they're not going to really address what's fundamentally going on within your hospital. And that's where you got to take a step back, and you have to slow it down and think about, okay, what is really going on here? And if it repeatedly comes back that it's the same issue over time, is that we are not coordinating things, it's hard to keep track of information, all those kind of things, then you might want to consider wasting some resources, right? Now imagine, you're bringing in $1 million and you're spending, $100,000. You got to save up that $100,000 to get the hospital management system. And at that point, once you've saved up for it, then you can consider actually pursuing this thing, right? Don't get sort of suckered into, they're going to say, hey, it's going to be easy, it's going to change your life, and you're going to make all this revenue, all that kind of stuff. Most of the time, that's not true, right? Like, that you've been through this. You just take your time, go slow, save up to get it, and then you invest in it. And then you realize, it makes your life a little bit easier. And then you do the next thing, and then you do the next thing. Right? And you know what the best products are for you. You just have to go ask around, go talk to people and see what the best products are. And then you'll make that decision from there. So hopefully this helps you out. I know it's kind of not necessarily on point with the rest of my channel, but hopefully, I'm trying to expand into different areas and things. So I thought that this would be interesting. All right, take care. Give me one of these. Bye.